Hello everybody, this is my CZW Winner Takes All review. I thought it would be better for me to do this before I do my King of Trios review, so therefore you can compare my last review, which will be posted a couple of days before this, with this one. Anyway, I'll get straight into it. This event really is the last event before the two main events, which are Best of the Best and Tournament of Death, which is some of their biggest shows, or the shows that people expect the most out of. And so this show was really just used sorry, to further a whole bunch of storylines and angles and shit like that. And having said that, it did a decent job at really getting you to want to see these matches, because it didn't just put them in the ring and then have them have a rematch and then have them have a rematch like they have done in the past and not build up for it. So there was some pretty good build for these matches. Of course, the wrestling just wasn't there, and I'll explain why, and I'll go through the show. First we had Jon Dahmer versus Emo. 1.5 stars. It lacked the intensity that the match from the previous month had, where Jon Dahmer was in the opening. The crowd was dead for it. Not as many big spots as what was in the month before's match at Lights Camera CZW, so 1.5. Then we had Diehard Dustin versus Drew Gulak. This is Diehard Dustin from Naptown Dragons, Drew Gulak from Team Andrew. This match was a submission match. It was pretty standard, nothing really special. We saw a run-in near the end and some craziness, but it was a bit short. 2.5 stars. It was still good for what it was. Then we had the Winner Takes All match, which featured Lufisto, Pinky Sanchez, Spiral BKNY, OMG or whatever, Stupefied, and LJ Cruz. This was just a 6-way match, and whoever won it would get a shot at best of the get a place in the Best of the Best tournament or Tournament of Death. But for some reason I get the idea that some of these guys are going to be in them anyway, regardless. So we had the match itself was pretty high paced and pretty fun, some good spots. It didn't get too spotty though. Some pretty funny comedy spots. Lots of high flying stuff. 3.25 stars. Lots of fun. Next we had 2 Girls 1 Cup and Player Uno versus Cheech, Cloudy and Brodie Lee. 2 Girls 1 Cup. I agree with Cheech, Cloudy and Brodie Lee about being destroyed last week and their manager and that. I don't know why they chose Player Uno. I guess it's because he's got a pretty crazy gimmick too, so whatever. This turned out to be a pretty good match as well. 3 stars, lots of fun. Next we had Dylan Summers versus Danny Havoc. Dylan Summers, Necro Butcher, just so you know. And it was a Hollywood amateur rules match. I don't know what it was, basically just Queensberry rules, or there was rounds. And that was supposed to be 2-minute rounds, but it was obviously just setups, and I can't remember his name. Necro Butcher's manager would just, whenever Necro Butcher got the lost the upper hand, he would call for that was the end of the round, and the announcers felt that the referee was retarded. This was just basically to tease at an obvious death match that's going to happen between Danny Havoc and Necro Butcher eventually, once again furthering the storyline and keeping Dylan Summers away from Danny Havoc and building up for that death match, because they are both death match wrestlers. So 1.5 stars. You can't really rate that too hard for what it was. But the video at the start when Necro Butcher came out, or Dylan Summers came out, was a bit too long. It was funny, but just a little bit too long. I think they did one last month and that was also funny, but also a bit too long. We had Panes of Glass with Naptown Dragons member Scotty Vortex versus Andy Sumner, who's the team of Team Andrew. This was a pretty predictable match. You knew what was going to happen. I mean, it was predictable to all matches are pretty predictable for me, but I found this one extremely predictable. I pretty much could tell everything that was going to happen, and there was only a handful of high spots, and the match just went way too short. I mean, it was still good, decent, but it just could have been so much better than what it was. So 2.25 stars. Then we had a tag match with the Blackout versus Alex Colin and Joe Gacy. I'm pretty sure Sabian had a broken jaw, but now he's wrestling, so I guess he needs money, as you do on the independent scene. This match was basically just to set up a Devon Moore run-in and attack them and further a storyline between the Blackout, or basically CZW and Devon Moore, who's from wherever, IWA Mid-South and various other indies. This was good. I mean, it was a good match for the length it had. It was only about 5 minutes long, and they did some pretty decent stuff. So 2.25 stars, ruined by the run-in. If they'd given these guys some time, you would expect more. But Alex Colin and Joe Gacy really haven't done a lot. So oh well, all aren't really going anywhere. So I guess they're just going to use them as jobbers. False Count Anywhere match between DJ Hyde and Brain Damage teaming up against Insane Lane and Wax. This was good. Well, I said this was good enough that it wasn't unbearable. It was basically just them punching each other around the ring, so it got a bit boring and around the arena. There was one high spot where Insane Lane got thrown off of a balcony through some tables, and he looked like a corpse. The way he fell. It was basically just a setup for that spot, and then Wax getting beaten down by both DJ Hyde and Brain Damage, and to further the storyline. So good for what it was, just not a very good wrestling match, not very entertaining until that spot happened. And that spot took a while to happen because Insane Lane just wasn't going over the edge, probably because he feared for his life, and I would too. Next match we had was the no roped barbed wire match for the CZW World Title. This one wasn't advertised. It should have been. I mean, it was advertised on the back of the DVD, but obviously because they had a promo earlier where Drkae Younger or Nick Gage, I think, or one of the two, declared or put out a challenge for it to be a false count anywhere, and another one said no, it should be a barbed wire match. They should have set that up last month and then had that happen this month, and maybe you would have had it. Because the crowd was pretty hot for this no barbed wire match, maybe you would have had more people in attendance, because there was not a lot of people in attendance compared to previous shows like 9F and Years and whatever. And that was one of the reasons why the crowd was more dead, because there was less people there, and the whole event would have seemed more important if it was advertised that there was going to be a no barbed wire match. But I guess it just wanted to be a surprise. Anyway, when the match started, you had Drkae Younger and Nick Gage throw glass all along the bottom of them on the mat, so when they took a bump, they'd be taking a bump on broken glass, which was a little to add to the deathmatch feel. They didn't go overboard with the barbed wire. They used it effectively, but they didn't just go nuts with it and tangle each other in it and just go completely berserk and make it just a bunch of gory spots where they're just rolling around in barbed wire and shit. There was some psychology used, like Irish whip to it, and he'd dodge it, and then so and so would go to drop kick him, and Drkae Younger would move out of the way, and it was sold like that. It was how it should have been done, and the glass was used. It wasn't like they were just smashing each other's head in or just taking bumps on it and selling it all the time. It was used effectively, and there was a pretty cool spot where Drkae Younger put it in Nick Gage's mouth and punched him in the mouth. So it was pretty good, and so I'll give this match 3 3/4 stars. This was a very good no barbed wire match. I also had a ladder used, and it was just really fun. Well, really fun, it would be the word to describe it. I mean, fun if you like seeing barbed wire matches, and I do, so yeah, maybe not fun for the rest of you, maybe a little bit disturbing, but it was still, I felt it was a really good barbed wire match. Really well done, but no barbed wire match. Anyway, I'll give the event a 6.5. It wasn't bad, it just wasn't very good. This show was very average. So, there's not really much you can do about that. It's a shame because they had a pretty good lineup of matches, and if the matches were given more time and weren't so storyline orientated, they would be better. Anyway, thanks, bye.